In this video, we are going to get a demo of how to set up the Focal Diva Utopia speakers from Chris from Focal. Let's get into it. All right, Chris, talk to me about this setup here on the phone.
All right, so as I mentioned, is that we do use our Focal name app. Of course, this app is compatible with everything from our $699 Batiste wireless headphone all the way now up into the Diva Utopia at $40,000. And so, of course, here at CES, we have our Diva, and with this is that we will select it. As soon as we get into the app, you can see all of our main inputs. As we mentioned, things like title, USB, input for our music selections, title, Cobas, Spotify, our native. In 2025, we're going to be adding Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Spotify HD, which is really exciting. Of course, that dirty word that you used earlier, Bluetooth. Yes, we have it, but we also incorporate AirPlay 2 and Chromecast, and of course, the three inputs that we had talked about earlier. This includes our analog, our digital, and our HDMI with eARC. Now, as we mentioned earlier as well, is of course our DSP. We know that this will not be set optimally. And so within the app is that we're able to get into our system settings. This allows us to not only do the room correction, but do things like setting which side the primary is on, whether it's on the left or the right. So this is very versatile. If such case that our connections are on the left, we can place the primary on the left, and that makes no changes. But again, of course, what we're talking about is that room correction. So with this, I've already set this up for our demonstration, but the nice thing is that we can actually walk through the setup, and we can modify even after we've done the original calibration. So in this case here, I can set with either modify or start a new calibration. Okay. Today we're going to actually set with modify, and we'll start with either feet or meters. I'm versed in both if you need me to translate, but we'll set it for feet for you today. Okay. And so we will start with our measurements. And so this is a three-step process. The first step is our measurements. This is basically explaining to the DSP where the speakers are placed in the room, as well as in where they are in relativity of each other, as well as their positioning to the listening area. So our first measurement here is the front of the cabinet to the back wall. Of course, we do have a set of stairs over on our right-hand side, so I've had to push the right-hand side back a little bit farther back from the left side, hence why we have different measurements. Our next measurement is going to be placing the speaker in relation to the sidewall. So in this case here, our left speaker is 5.3 feet off of the sidewall, and our right speaker, I'm using the dresser up on the landing there at 6.6 feet. Okay. Now, if I didn't have the dresser, I would actually just open that up as far as I could possibly open it up.
So if it's an open wall on one side, you just go max it out. What is the max anyway?
I haven't quite figured out that, but I believe it's about 15-20 feet.
Okay.
At that point in time. Our next measurement is our spacing between the two speakers, in this case 7.4 feet. And lastly is our positioning from the left speaker to the listening position.
Okay.
So with that is that is step one of three.
Okay.
The next one is probably the most interesting feature of this, is that a lot of DSPs use an outboard microphone for calibration. The fact is that we want to use the best microphone that we have, and that is our left microphone and our right microphone on either side of our head. We actually use the listener's ears to calibrate. And so with this is that we will play 6 tones, and with that ability is as we are playing it, we will play a tone with the ability to be able to shift or set that tone to the center of our listening stage. So in this case here, I've preset at -2, but I can now move all the way to +10, which now shifts it to the right. And as I start to bring that number back down, it will start to center into our listening position. In this case, -2.
Yep.
And you being in the listening position, you should be able to hear that quite clearly. As we move to the next frequency, we will change the frequency because this will have a different effect within the room. And as you can see, my calibration is sitting at -6, or 6 positions to the left. We will then change that, continue that through our frequencies.
Oh, we're getting lower.
We will go to lower as we go through. And then when we hit done, we have now positioned or center positioned are 6 different frequencies based on your hearing.
Okay.
Third and lastly is our tonal balance. Of course, we know that rooms can have huge effects on frequencies. We can have room modes. Depending on our positionings, and of course this will vary on frequency as well. And so within step 3 we have 8 steps, and so we will play 2 tones. We'll play 2 tones. It'll go 1, 2, 1. We'll play the first tone first, the second tone second, the first tone third. And with this is that we will, through the app, we will adjust the second tone to match the volume of the first tone.
Okay.
So, and we will do that where. So 1, 2, 1. If I bring this volume down all the way to here, you'll be able to really hear the difference.
Oh yeah.
In volume. So let's go back up. So from there, we will continue dropping octaves. So we'll go into step 3 of 8, 4 of 8, 5 of 8. Now, once we get to 6 and 7 and 8, this is where we really start to find the resonant frequency of the room.
Yeah.
So
you start hearing all the little rumbles around too.
now, what's really interesting in this case here, when we get into this frequency, you can see I've had to really drop that second frequency in volume for the simple fact that it had that room mode right where we're sitting. And now, the really neat piece about this is step 8, because we get a lot of questions of really how low can how low can 4, 6 and a half play? And so when we move here,
Oh.
so now this is where the room really starts to resonate.
Yeah. What is this? This is probably like a 30, 35.
I don't know if it's quite that low, but it's really quite low.
Maybe 40.
Yeah. And then when we hit done, we're calibrated.
Okay.
So the average calibration is roughly anywhere between about 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes maximum. So,
Right, because they got to differentiate all these sounds and stuff like that.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And again, we're using, the end consumer's ears to
Okay,
calibrate.
what if they got crap ears though? That's the whole. Okay, if the end consumer has crappy hearing though, or if they're like older and they can't hear the stuff, is there like an auto?
There is not an auto.
Okay.
So what this is, within our Focal name dealer partnership, we train them to assist their client with that setup.
Got it.
But what's really neat about this is that even if their hearing is maybe deteriorated, possibly, or maybe they've got an anomaly in one side, is that because we have the ability to calibrate based on their hearing, is that we can compensate for any kind of loss, where we have an end consumer that maybe they've got some hearing impairment on the left.
Okay.
Obviously, that would push all of their staging right, and so we're able to, for the most part, compensate for a good portion of that.
And dealers will help them, assist them in doing
Right.
it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, see, this is what happens when you spend $40,000 on a pair of Bluetooth speakers.
Oh, killing me.